Hello YouTube, I'm Daniel, I'm the Acadian therapist, and I'm standing here in front of these pieces of art that I've made to sort of help illustrate a point and also to help kick off this exciting new series of episodes on productivity. So far in the channel we've talked about what I would call more basic mental health survival skills, just sort of the basic toolkit that I'd recommend anybody have to help deal with those really intense swings of emotion. But I'm very aware that, well, dealing with those swings of emotion is fine, and helping to manage with symptoms is essential, it's critical. I think that we all need those skills. I promise you the skills that I've been sharing in the channel are ones that I've applied myself, as well as recommend to clients. So symptom management and dealing with crisis and helping to sort of get back into that window of tolerance that I talk so much about is important. But once you're there, what do you want to do with it? What is it that you want to accomplish in your life? So I was not somebody that considered myself particularly artistic. But thanks to the systems and processes that I'm going to be moving on to talk about now in this second productivity series, I was able to get to this point where I was able to make these kinds of works. I'm very self-critical. I think I still have a long way to go, but because of these systems I've been practicing, I have tools to help me move not just through managing my emotional reactions, but to move into actually getting things accomplished. And so that's what we're going to talk about today. And so with this episode, this is part one of the Personal Kanban system. So today I'm just going to give a general overview of it and hopefully enough tools to get started. So if you're a subscriber, if you're following along, maybe you pick up some things to actually get started on this week, and then next week we can sort of pick up from there and keep going. But I'm just going to describe sort of a general overview of the system first, and the different steps and how they work. So first, an overview, a general description of it. So this system was developed, I believe, it's my understanding, is in Japan, which means I am probably mispronouncing the name of this. My apologies, and if anybody wants to correct me in the comments, that'd be most welcome. So essentially it's a system that was developed to help folks get more things accomplished, and it's less of a pressured, pushed to do things, and it's more working at the pace that is natural for yourself. So I think this was a response to the old assembly line idea that you have to produce a certain amount of units per day and pushing yourself to do it. But people have different abilities, they have different levels of motivation, they have different stresses that are going on, different times of day people are going to be more productive. And so coming up with just you need to produce 50 units of something kind of system doesn't really meet people where they're at. So Kanban is meant to be more flexible. So that's where how the system was developed. So the very first step to this is to brainstorm a list of the things that need to be done. Now, I made a point for making with this video, the Kanban system that I'm going to show is very much geared towards using just regular household materials. Specifically for the scraps of paper, I used old envelopes. I just cut them into small pieces, a little bit of masking tape, and you're off to the races. You could work on this with your partner, with family, so you could just have a little basket maybe, where you can just fill out the slips of paper and just put them in. So whenever you think of something that needs doing, that you want doing, you can just go ahead and put them in the basket. And then you'll have like a good list brainstorm. Now, just so you're prepared, this step is quite likely going to be overwhelming. Once you actually start putting the slips of paper on the wall, it's going to be intimidating. It's going to be scary. If you just take a look at mine, well, this was just the list that I brainstormed over the course of a couple of days. And so if there's more than you that's putting it together, you're going to have a lot of slips of paper. So if it's overwhelming, Well, this is a hard acceptance piece because it already was overwhelming. It was just in the back of your head. So to actually look at it is going to feel worse to start. And so this is why I wanted to talk about grounding and those skills, because when you're feeling overwhelmed, or maybe more likely just feeling like, I don't feel like doing it. Oh, I'm bored. Not today, not ready. Well, if you're feeling any of those reactions, that's okay, but that's hypoarousal. That's from our window of tolerance that we've been talking about. So do some breaths, do some grounding, and then try to do a little bit more, right? So just facing the things that overwhelm you, you're just facing what's already there. We haven't added new stress. We're just looking at what's already there. So that's the first step. So once you take a look at this, this is your backlog. The different scraps of paper that you're seeing are the tasks that need to be done. So what I've done in this demonstration is I've grouped them. Now this is where you can make the system your own. So you can group them according to kids' responsibilities, parents' responsibilities. You can group them in terms of the things that really annoy you, the things that excite you. You can group them according to these are the things that will make my family happier. These are the things that will help save for my retirement. These are the things that will help me deal with that work stress a little bit better. So you're going to have to take a look at it and kind of group it the way that, fits best for you. If you don't want to group, that's okay. Well, and your system's going to evolve as you use it. So when you look at this list, you're going to find some tasks that are going to be simple, and you can do them right away, like wash the dishes. And then you're going to have some that are even more complicated, like find love or spring cleaning, but it's not very well broken down. So what you want to find with this system, you want to find the things that are ready to be done right now. You don't need to shop for anything. You don't have to plan anything else. You don't need to save money. It needs to be done. It's simple. Washing dishes, that's a really good example. If you have goals that are more vague, that's on there, well, you might want to park them for now, but when you have a chance, you want to break that down into actual practical steps. So if, let's say, you had a goal of going back to school, okay, so if you're in your 20s, 30s, 60s, you want to go back to school, beautiful goal, that's great. What needs to happen first? Do you need to save money? Do you need to budget? Do you need to research what career you want to do and what's required? So think it through and just break it down until you get to something that you could actually do here and now. Like Google the education requirements for that job that you'd love to have. So that's a step you could do. So Google becomes the new task. You can create new post-its. I tried to show this with some of these goals of mine where the main goal was too vague. So I broke it down to smaller steps until I get to something I can actually do. So now you've got a list of tasks that you could do right now. Perfect. Now you come up with 3 headings. These are going to be the 3 sacred headings that you're going to follow. Sacred until you decide to modify them. But the most basic version of the Kanban system is 3 headers: ready, doing, and done. So now you have your post-its, this overwhelming thing. That's the hardest part of this whole thing. So you've already done the hardest part. Well done. Then you find some that you're ready to do. You put them in your ready category. Now you can color code this if you want, but I wouldn't bother with that, especially when you're just getting started. You just want to start getting the system moving. So you can sort it out more. You don't want to spend forever developing a system and then not using the system. So that would be what some would call analysis paralysis, where you can spend forever thinking about it. Eventually you just have to actually get it done. So you've got your backlog, you've got your doable tasks, you've got your 3 headings. Anything that's ready to be done, you put it into ready. The next step is actually pulling items from ready into doing. So you pick your items. Now, when you look at the item, I would say it doesn't matter what you choose, but you can feel free to take a look at the things that are ready. And if there are some that are more urgent, So if there's a deadline that's coming up on Monday and another deadline that's coming up on Friday, well, you probably want to focus on the Monday items, right? But once you look at it, you can choose also what you're in the mood for. So for myself, there's some moments that my mind is more able to do paperwork stuff, which usually I don't like doing. So if I'm motivated, I'm going to pull that one to actually get it done, get it out of my way. Later in the day, when I'm more tired, my body likes to move more. So that's when I tend to do my household chores. Now, this is something that I learned through using Kanban. This is something you'll learn about yourself as well. It's called workflow, but we'll talk more about that in a later episode. So you look at your ready list and you just pull into doing. Now, at most, you want to have 3 items you're doing at one time. And ideally, things you have to focus on. So, for example, if I was doing laundry, well, I'm not manually washing my laundry. I have to wait for it to wash before I can put it on the line or put it in the dryer. So that one can stay in doing, and meanwhile, I can wash the dishes while the laundry is going, or I can do up a case note or whatever it is I need to do. But you don't want to be over multitasking. So this is part of the beauty of the doing column. It forces you to be mindful and to just do one thing at a time. Personal example, I would walk past my doing list every once in a while and I would say, oh shoot, I'm actually not doing that now. I guess I'm procrastinating. I guess I'm putting it off. So forcing myself to just stick with one item until I follow it through. And when you follow through, then you move it into the done column. And so something that was important for me was to give myself permission to move something from doing to done, even if it's not completely done. If I know that I put an honest work in on it, and I know that I've made some progress, I'm not going to force myself to just stick with it until I'm done, because then I will get resentful. And especially if you're dealing with something like really strong depression, or if you're really overwhelmed, then washing a dish might be a big deal. So if you wash a dish, move it into done. The benefit of the done column is often we reach the end of the day, we're tired, we don't know why, or we feel unproductive, or we beat ourselves up. So at the end of every day, you get to look at this list of things that is done. And the feeling that you get is very powerful, especially when you practice this every day. So you keep going, and every day you see what you're getting accomplished. Now, eventually, you'll notice some patterns, some things that you're forever procrastinating on, some things that you never, or maybe like really big dream goals or bucket list items. And if you're never moving towards it, well, then it forces you to reevaluate. Is that important to me? Why am I putting it off? But we'll talk some more about that later. So that's the basic system. Set it up, even just start with just the scraps of paper. Feel free to comment below if there's a system you've already used or if you have different variations. I'd love to see pictures of your Kanban boards. We're going to talk some more about it, I promise. But for now, that's all I've got for you. So that's Kanban Part 1. If you find this content helpful, consider subscribing or sharing, what have you, or if you appreciate the support on that. In the meantime, take care of yourselves and good luck. We'll see you next week.